Anyway, so what I wanted to kind of just get us started and popped off with today was something that follows up really from our first session. And in our first session, we were talking about, yes, you can be. Thank you, Mama Precious. We were talking about just really owning and kind of being accountable for what it is that we're feeling versus what we're emoting, and understanding that we have the right to feel what we feel just as easy as we have the right to think what we think. And one of the things that I shared was that your emotions go out, your feelings come in, or work internally, right? So with that being said, I wanted to just kind of speak a little bit on the concept of caring too much, right? Because sometimes that's what the blockage is. You know, that's what the blockage is in terms of when we are trying to fish through through attempting to moderate certain emotions, or when we're trying to sort and filter through our feelings. Sometimes what happens is that we begin to get into this mode, in terms of how others may react to what it is that we're feeling, or how others may react to what it is that we're thinking. And sometimes we are unwilling to be authentic and to be genuine, whether it be in our thoughts, or feelings, or whether it even be just even in our speech. We're unwilling to be authentic. And that's primarily because, we have this huge overarching idea of they. It's like when we're talking about certain things socially, and people will say things like, well, they're doing this, or they about to do this, or they, and we never really get to understand who they is. And a lot of times they is a satanic sort of cloud software. I thought I turned, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, no time for that right now. They is sort of like this cloud software that hangs over our psyche, our thoughts are in the sky, or Shemaim. The battle is always for our thoughts. The battle is always in the sky. It's never on the ground, it's in the sky. And sometimes we allow certain things to loom over that experience, and it's those they, who they, you know, and it's like a lot of times when we're feeling certain things, we'll become afraid to express because of how they may take it, or how people may take it. And there's a simple trick that I want to share with you, that I've given to clients before, and we can then build on that. You may have your own trick too. One of the things you do to deal with that is when you have a concern about how people are going to react to who you are, what you're going to do, who you be, what you want to be, what you want to do, the list goes on and on. When you have a concern about that, the very first thing I would advise you to do is to discern exactly who it is that you are concerned or that you care about a reaction from. It's a very simple step, right? But often if we're getting ready to do something, fear will set in because of what people may think. And then sometimes we don't ask ourselves a very simple question. Do I care what everyone thinks? Now, most people, when we're feeling a level of bravado, will say, I don't care what people think. I don't care what anybody thinks. That's just not realistic. If that was the case, we'd all walk outside, stark naked every day. If we cared what no one thought, our clothes would never match. If we cared what no one thought, we would speak our own private language constantly. So obviously we are aware that there are other people in the world that we interact with, and that we have to figure out how to relate to in a way that is most productive and most efficient. So that's that is what it is. However, I don't think we hold that thought as it pertains to everyone, right? We don't care what everyone thinks, but there are maybe some people we do care, right? So let's say if we're on a job and there's a certain way that we want to do something, to say, well, I don't care what they think, is not realistic. You may not care about what your coworkers think, but you may be concerned about how your supervisor and your supervisor's secretary or assistant may take what it is that you're aiming to do. So when you can begin to kind of delineate or begin to separate those you do care about a reaction from those you don't, then you can start creating more realistic boundaries around yourself and start to measure, am I caring too much? Right? Because if I want to do a particular thing and I am so concerned about how the world is going to take what it is that I'm doing or how the world is going to respond to what it is that I'm doing, then I'm going to live my life in a constant defensive pose. You know, if anyone has ever played basketball, been around a basketball game, and you hear that the coach yelling, defense, defense, you'll constantly
Man
have,
up.
okay, so you know, you constantly have that coach yelling in your head, no matter what's said to you. Defense, defense, D up, D up. And it may not be necessary, but when you put yourself into this pocket that the entire world, is going to have an opinion on what it is that I do, and that matters to me. When you put yourself into that space, you have no option but to be defensive with everyone. I can tell you, there's probably only like in this world, as far as what I'm going to do or my purpose or my mission, it's probably like maybe two or three people who I care about how they feel about it. And truthfully, I could barely say that because pretty much anyone I'm concerned about at that level with, they're all dead now. These are all older elders. Now everybody's pretty much gone. So there's a freeing aspect to that. As sad as that may sound, where it's like, all right, well, guess I just do what I want now, and not really be concerned. And sometimes that's difficult for us to admit, especially those of us who are parents. We want to say, well, I care what my children think. Well, we probably do to a degree, but then to another degree, it's probably like, no, I don't. Those are my children. I'm not subject and bound to their opinion. So that's an important exercise, I would say. You pull back and you think about that. And for those who are kind of already locked and trapped in that, what it probably feels like is that eternal struggle of defense. you know, One of the things that's good to look at again is, you know, how exactly is it that you are, Precious got a
I don't know how
Wu
to
Tang.
mute.
She's got the Wu Tang in the back. Okay, Wu Tang Clan ain't nothing to mess with. Okay,
I
anything
don't know
else?
how to mute this.
That's all
At the
right.
bottom.
Just talk. No, 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 don't tell her nothing.
Oh no.
We, oh, you figured? Why'd you say something?
Sorry.
Just tell
We
us what
gotta
you gleaned from the conversation.
right, exactly. We got a nice glimpse into her life. I bet Zach, you probably thought you was playing opera music or something all day, right?
She got one of them cheap stands for her phone that fell over. That's what I thought it was. I'm like, what's going on over
She probably got it propped up on milk crates. You keep thinking she's all prim and proper. I'm trying to tell you.
there? Right.
You know? Yeah, man. But yeah, it's just something, to kind of give some thought to and to play around with, as a thought. And feel free to jump in, anyone. I know some of you have raised your hands. I brought you in, all you hand raisers. Precious was one of them, but I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, go
Peace.
ahead. Yeah,
I'll
y'all got it.
go. So, the first thing I thought about when I saw the title Caring Too Much, I immediately thought about how that used to be, one of my like stamps. It's like I just care too much. Um or so much, or I just care for everyone, that kind of thing. One of the things I realized about myself is that I was so focused outwardly on others that I neglected any cultivation or doing of myself, and it was almost used as an avoidance, kind of mechanism, to prevent, worrying about others, worrying about myself, or like, cultivating myself. So that caring too much aspect, some may see that as a band of honor or badge of honor, but it can be a telling sign of, lack of self-assessment and development as well, from my experience.
Can I ask you a question about that real quick? And only what I've seen people when they say, my issue might be that I just love too hard, right? And I love for other people. And then on the flip side of that, it's like, well, I'm just gonna love myself. It's because I don't love myself enough, and then turn into self-absorbed, where it's like I don't care about other people at this point anymore. How did you find that balance between the two?
Well, I found that balance is because people's that misunderstanding of like, well, turning inward, or being selfish. It's like, what are you doing? Like for me, it was Anu. Anu helped with the character building aspect. Those 14 keys aspect, and those that accountability, and because sometimes people think that self love is just doing your toes in a bubble bath, but that also it, but it. I mean, it can be. That's pretty nice, but it is also including, like, figuring out where you went wrong, your errors, and just really being accountable for those actions. So that balance that I found is, what is what is building me up, what is still involving or helping with a community that I'm involved in, like what still is with Anu, but what is something that is still just enriching, my being as well.
Hmm. So, would it be safe to say then what's building you up, that ultimately what you can hand to somebody would be a way to kind of check that, or am I looking at that differently?
I mean, I guess so, because when you said that, it really reminded me of the talk of spiritual or gifts, or what you can do. And if you can't give it to someone, then it's not a gift. So I would have to say so, yes.
Hmm. All right. Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you. Even when I was listening at the beginning, it made me think, because I just been on this Game of Thrones thing here lately, and there was an episode, right, where they was going up the wall, and the wall started to break, and he cut it. He was about to kill Jon Snow and the other girl. He's like, "Hey, we got to cut him loose." And eventually they lived, but they when he met him up again, he's like, "Man, you tried to kill me." And he's like, "You know what? She ain't complaining about it, because she understands that people love when it suits them. They kill when it suits them. They care when it suits them, right?" And and in a sense, he was kind of like saying that in the moment, you do what you have to do in order to survive. Um, so I guess that's my question to the panel: is that, would you find that to be true? Is there some truth in that, or is that going in the opposite direction?
Peace. So I'm chiming in on that. Peace to everyone. Um, I would say it depends on the situation sometimes, but yeah, you tried to kill me. He cared about himself in that moment, but dude who tried to kill him, he probably cared about what was going on the other side of the wall. Like, what was the context? Why did he feel like he needed to cut him loose or kill him? Was there something greater than just two people that he was trying to protect? And Jon Snow may not have cared about what could have come over that wall with him. I don't know what part of the show you're talking about. I pretty much fell off in season 3. That's talking about them. But if you had a situation like, I said, there was these White Walkers coming and they were going to make it over the wall, along with Jon Snow, then yeah, you gotta get cut loose. And you gotta, if you cared about the rest of your people, you gotta be able to accept that, yeah, if I get over this war, then everybody's gonna die. But if it's self-preservation, then why'd you cut me loose? you know, so ultimately, what is it for? Like, did they try to kill him because of good reason, or did they try to kill him because of spite? But I don't think he was the person that way. It was just a spite. You wouldn't have said you tried to kill me. You would have tried to kill him. But you could look at it a different way. If I had a situation where there was this neighbor of mine, they had like a big pit bull that never, it rarely came out of the house. But on this particular day, it did. And on the same day, it was like the dog, my parents' dog, was over at our apartment. You know, our neighbors, you just like playing with the dogs, bring her over to that. But the pit bull came out. I don't know this pit bull from a can of paint, but this dog, like he charged at this little cocker spaniel. He charged at our parents' dog, and I instinctively just grabbed it by the collar and like sat it down. I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I just knew that I couldn't allow that other thing to happen. And maybe it wouldn't happen. Maybe it was just she was just rusting up on the little dog just to sniff her. But I didn't want to take that risk. So I grabbed the dog because I cared what happened to the dog, as opposed to me stepping back and being like, I ain't stepping in between a people and a dog. I ain't even my dog. you know? So ultimately, it's like, do you care about do you care about the other party enough, or is there like something greater that you're not willing to sacrifice? Like I said, I don't know the context of the situation, but if they were cutting them off because they were trying to save something greater than just two individuals, then yeah, you should understand why I needed to cut you off. But if it's a situation like, nah, it's just us two coming up because you don't like me, well, that's another type of scenario going on.
Well, what had happened when they was all connected to a line, so it was four of them climbing this wall, and then they slipped, and it was one that was really anchored into the wall, and there was another one that, but then the other two was just kind of dangling. He's like, they got to be cut loose because if they not cut loose, then everybody was gonna fall. So he cut them loose, but he ended up surviving. So then that's when he was like, "Well, you don't understand is people do things when it suits them." Almost like being in the moment, and in the moment you have to do what is necessary.
Well,
And
that's a key piece to caring too much, right? Because I mean, there's nothing wrong with caring. Caring is good in and of itself, but the moment we say something is happening too much, then we're acknowledging that there's a problem. And just even using that example, a lot of times people will care too much because it sits within their comfort zone. To pull back is uncomfortable. But if I'm committed to something, even if it's unhealthy, because oftentimes that point of caring too much or over service, it keeps you on a pivot of an unhealthy mind state, because caring too much is just a sign of not respecting or not knowing your own personal boundaries. That's all. And whether it's external, you're caring too much for others or too much for yourself. And we're using the word care, and I use the word care because it's a common thing, right? But
mm,
it's not really care. It's not really caring for other people, because in order to care for other people, you have to use your intuition. And when people quote unquote care too much, it's because the intuition is either shot or they don't know how to follow their gut. So as a result, they just constantly pour in, pour in, pour in, pour in, because it's a very safe space. And what I mean by that is, if it goes wrong, you can always play victim. And
mm,
people who are addicted to that victim modality, you'll always hear that statement. Yeah, I used to care too much for people, and I learned I got to look out for myself. Well, you wanted to do that from the beginning. That's what you were really doing, because a lot of times people will do things because they're attention seeking. They want points. How do I get points from this person, or get a pat on the head? Well, I'll translate my attention seeking, into service, right? Sometimes it's a result of just being indecisive. you know People have difficulty finding balance between what needs to happen and what shouldn't happen, and because there's that indecisiveness now, they'll kind of just, they don't know, they can't decide on what you deserve, right? It's like me having a jar of treats, and I'm supposed to reward you, but I'm not sure. I don't know how to make a decision. Should I give you three? Should I give you four? Should I give you one? You know what? Just take the whole thing. You decide. You take it and you tell me how much you want. you know
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of times it's a result of indecisiveness. It's a result of attention whoring. It's a result of not being able to follow instinct. And like I said, even in your example, it's, some people don't understand that to cut that rope means that now we have to leave our comfort zone. So for me to pull back, if I haven't really taken the time to learn a person, which you can only care for a person if you learn them, then it's difficult for me to say no. I never really know when I should say yes or when I should say no. But it's more comfortable to say yes because I know there's rewards. And like I said, I could play victim later and all these other things. I might get some points. I can get some attention from this person, so forth and so on. And not doing that takes me out of my comfort zone, you know?
Mm. What you just said made me think of when somebody just says yes, right? And it's like, is it caring for the other person or is it caring for themselves and not wanting to put themselves in a bad situation? Like people who always they don't want to say no in fear of almost like if this person may, if I say no to them now, then this person may say no to me when I might need them, or they may say no to me. So you know what? Instead of me just saying no, or instead of me putting limitations on something, I'm just gonna always say yes, and in turn,
Right.
then almost just burning themselves out
Right.
in a sense.
But that's a part of the victim personality.
Mm,
You know, why are you so tired? Because I'm always doing stuff for other people. That's
right,
just the way I am. When I see someone who needs help, I just step on in. That's me, you know.
right.
So it's like it's a mindset, and a lot of it is because you're looking at a weak person. Sometimes you do have to toughen up and shift your perspective to care about certain things less than what you would. And we sometimes want to think that we were wronged. We want to think that we're a victim. So we kind of precipitate that type of narrative by doing certain things. When sometimes it's not even that deep. We may offer something to someone. They say, "No, I'm okay. It's cool." You sure? Because I can come right over. You sure? So
Right.
we're pushing it on them, and they may even say yes because maybe they have the same issue too. Well, let them come over because I know it means something to them, even though I don't want them here, right?
Hmm.
So everyone is kind of playing this people pleaser game, if you will. And the only way you really know if it's authentic or not, again, if there's a measure of gut, or there's a measure of instinct being utilized. It's like the scripture when it talks about, give out of the abundance of your heart, right? So that may mean, well, right now my heart is telling me nothing, or that my heart may be telling me everything that I have in my savings account. So, but either way, I'm going to go with the instinctual flow of my gut. And once I'm in that space, there's going to be yes, there's going to be no. There's going to even be negotiations on what I'll do and what I won't do, because at that point, I'm more in tune with my personal boundaries. I'm more in tune with, nah, this right here takes me into an unhealthy place mentally. And once we kind of learn to set proper boundaries, then we're not only showing respect to others, but more importantly and ultimately, we're showing respect to ourselves. But without those boundaries being present, yeah, people will always kind of push us to where they want us to be, right? But also we'll use our own internal demonic agendas of people pleasing and tension horn, trying to get points to push ourselves and stick ourselves in places that we shouldn't really be. And
Mm.
effectively, that means that we don't care. We don't care about ourselves. We don't care about other people. We just don't have any sense of self ownership. And there's other things that come along with that. Promiscuity always comes along with that.
Mm.
I don't care. Just do what you want. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, that lack of ownership always comes along with the people pleasing. I mean, this gets ugly, and I'm tatted up, right? So just to start it off, I have tats, but often that is a sign of that. You see someone who's got a lot of piercing, lot of piercings, a lot of tats. That's someone who doesn't have a strong sense of personal boundaries. Obviously, it's also a sign of damage. And again, I reiterate, I'm tatted up. So I'm not speaking, I'm trying to speak from an arrogant external perspective. But, a lot of times it's a sign of that, pretty much every time, especially in females. It's always a sign of damage. And what it shows is that at some point, maybe not now, but at some point, this person lost their sense of self ownership. They lost their sense of boundaries. You know,
Mm. And I think even what you said with the boundary piece, man, and just being in the Western culture, it's almost like how does you and I'm speaking for myself. There was times I didn't know when somebody was infringing upon my space because I'm not the one that drew the line. So again, like trying to rely on my intuition, which it's like, well, I know I'm supposed to be kind. I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to smile, but something don't feel right about this. But again, leaning on that Western that says, well, you're supposed to, even if a female raises her voice at you, you're never supposed to do anything, right? Just walk away. Or even if you're in a situation where somebody feels like they wronged you or they slight you, you kill them with kindness. It's like something ain't feeling right about this. But again, this is what I was told. So if I was told, and then now it's like, do I really understand or do I really know when somebody is infringing upon my space or my boundaries? And then now, am I afraid of what that's going to put out into the world? Uh, like, what now? How am I going to be viewed if I do start to say these are my boundaries, and I do start, and then going back to that, yeah, and then now you start that whole cyclical cycle of just overthinking. Now, I don't want to, I don't want to push too much. I don't want to give too much, and then now again, caring too much instead of just saying, you know what, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna do, live my culture. I'm gonna do this despite you know, but also still not just being like F that and F that and F that. Like I'm still having some type of grace of moving and traversing through the world, which is, yeah, interesting. Interesting.
You, you know, one of the things that has really helped me is having those boundaries, and being with new in our culture, it that outlines what we do and what we don't do, and just learning those things have indeed set boundaries that I did not have, to the point where when certain uh circumstances or people, that I would normally would be like, oh yeah, I got you. That discernment and those boundaries put in place, has allowed for that, not that overpour or that even indulgence into what it is. So I do understand, like, the concept of having no boundaries, and the consequences of those actions, to having boundaries and seeing the positive consequences of those actions.
Peace, peace. Greetings, everyone. I have
peace.
definitely got caught up.
Your
Peace.
phone is real
I
low,
have.
by the way.
Very,
You
very low.
Okay. Can you hear me
again.
better now?
It's a little better.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I know this topic all too well. Caring too much. Yeah, that pat on the head comes back to bite you, uh, because you realize that you're not self-determining and or choosing to show up in the world how you would like to. And I realized that looking at, you know, when taking into account of like what other people are giving to you and suggesting the advice and offering to you, um, I had to look at like, okay, in order to create those boundaries and look at, okay, does this person truly care about my growth? Are they even invested in my journey and in my growth? Um, do they even know the dragons that I have to slay? So, how much do I put on caring about what this person is saying? Um, Also, like caring too much has, caused me to lose sight of who, I'm self-determining myself to be or showing up in the world as, because you're taking into account too many different opinions, too many different suggestions without sitting down and asking yourself, well, who are you? Who would you like to be? You know, to just create those boundaries and not just take everything in and wanting to just please other people that you lose sight of like, I don't even know like who I want to be. I'm just being what everyone is suggesting and saying that I should be, I found that to be really, really dangerous and it caused you to have like an identity crisis. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's real. That's real, Ema. What you said was key. You have to, in order to really moderate or regulate care and self care, you have to be able to look at patterns. It's so critical. And like you said, being able to look at a person, someone says, I need you. Okay, cool, no problem. Instead of it being immediate, yes, determining what the degree or the energy level of what that yes looks like based on what your history is with that person. Like, does this person only reach out to you when they need something? And maybe when you reach back out to them, they're always busy or they have some real like surface level, like, wow, that's a lot. Would like they don't really have anything to give you. And that kind of helps you when you start to see the pattern of how people are showing up or not showing up, right? It helps you to kind of moderate what your behavior should be and what the power exchange should be between you and that person. Also even like recognizing and respecting that I'm a dynamic person. Kind of speaking to what you and Zach both said. Like today I'm stressed, so I can't give you as much as I would have given you yesterday. Or today I have extra energy, so I may give you more than what I'm going to give you tomorrow. And, if we really care for each other, that's also an aspect, like where you recognize there's dynamics to my energy and I can't be the same thing every day to you. I know, and if anyone works with people from a therapeutic perspective, you know what I'm talking about. People hit you up all times of the day and night. If I had someone call me before 7 a.m. today, actually, and they want you the same way when you're at your peak, as far as like whatever guidance you're going to give them, whatever techniques, whatever tools that you give them to kind of navigate through their life or, be able to overcome whatever crisis that they're having at the moment. And it's never any thought to like, is this person having a rough day today? Are they tired? Are they under the weather? So many different things we could go through. And this may affect how much they may give me. So a lot of that is you have to kind of tune in with yourself, and sometimes you have to even focus on a simultaneous caring session with another person, right? So like sometimes you might be going through something or a person is going through something, and instead of just sitting somewhere and letting them emotionally dump on you, you might say, hey, listen, I'm getting ready to go for a hike, I'm going for a bike ride, why don't you come with me? Or I guess for like what Sister Kashia described, like I'm gonna go get my, I don't know, she said toes or something, I'm gonna have the dead skin peeled from in between my toes,
Don't,
you know
don't.
why don't you come on? Isn't that a part of what happens? Isn't that a part of it? You know
Can
it.
can
Yeah, don't just act like it's just, oh, they just clipped a little extra. No, this is feet we talking about. These are feet. There's a lot of scraping and tugging and drilling.
okay,
Yeah, so that's what happens with the feet. You know what I mean? So yeah, girl, I'm gonna go and have all that green skin that accumulated between my toes, from not drying my feet properly. I'm gonna have that plucked off. Why don't you come on with me? Come on, let's go get a plucking together.
It
You know,
says exfoliating the
thank
skin.
you,
right?
thank
You
you.
know, they try to use those fancy French
Exfoliation.
words. Leg exfoliate.
Something
Nah,
plucking and shucking. No.
plucking, scraping, however you can get it off, just get it off me. I got a date tonight. So,
Only if you have Myra feet.
if you have well, I mean, everybody laughed at Myra's feet because I think they recognized that there's some truth to this. So,
Who's Myra? I don't know who
right. Everybody know Myra is.
this.
you know. So I mean, but sometimes that's a part of like what your response could be. Like, especially if you're trying to counsel someone through something that is not going to change, or it's not going to change based on them not changing. Sometimes it's like, look, well, I'm getting ready to go do this. Let's take our mind off of that for the day. Come over here, help me paint my deck. Take your mind off what you're going through. you know, and and sometimes like what you have to give a person as a part of your own self care. You have to give them this, and what it is what, when you're ready to make that change, I'm here for you. Sometimes that's all it should be. Like, no, I'm not going to sit here and every time something happens, like let's say if someone's having a problem with their spouse, or a popular one for me was like some of my friends with their jobs. And I got to a point where I was so far out of the workforce, in terms of being an entrepreneur. I didn't want to hear that stuff. Like, I don't want to hear your complaints about your boss anymore, especially because the way I am with my friends is that if I'm making a move, I'm going to give you the option to make the move with me. So at some point it's like, yo, I told you I don't want to hear this. Oh, my boss, and yo, they won't give me the time off and they messed up my check. I can't relate. I don't even know what you're talking about. you know so when you're ready to make that change, so we don't have to keep having these same conversations, I'm here for you. But this can't be me constantly speaking and breathing life into you in the name of me caring, for something that's not going to change, because then it's harmful. That kind of harmful conversation, excuse me, is harmful to the limits that I'm supposed to accept or set for myself. You know, or again, we need to learn sometimes to maintain an emotional distance when you see, instead of something's not changing, but I know maybe a person made this move or made that move, it could change. And I know for me, again, and probably again for people who provide therapy, 9 times out of 10 we tell the people what to do so that they can get out of it. You just need to do this. They don't do it, and then they want to talk to you again about the same thing again. Well, did you do what I told you to do? No, because not yet. I thought about it and I said I'm just not ready. But let me ask you this. You see, and when I was a young Jedi therapist, I would let me ask you this go on. But when I became Obi-Wan, no, 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 don't ask me anything. You know what? Tell you what, we're going to end the session. You work on what I told you to work on, and when you're ready, we can pick up where we left off. You know, so that's also a part of it.
That is something that I had to learn, especially when I came into our new. I was one of the ones who thought that I'm the one, and I think it was just big on I'm the one that has to help you, and I'm the one that's going to walk you through it. And okay, well, let me see if I can find a different way to say it, because if I can find a better way to say it, then I know they'll finally get it at some point. So let me try to put this word with this word, and then it's like, nah, you know what? People, instead of just learning and caring too much, So like people work hard for their situations. And if it's something that you got yourself in, it's something that you can get yourself out of. But again, you have to want that, not me. I can't keep just be like, oh, okay, well, let me figure this out. Let me figure that out. Nuh-uh. Or, or just, I'm going to give you a seed. Now let's go over here and plant it together. No, you have to do the work. And it, because if one doesn't do the work, then almost like they becomes dependent, which I even see a lot of people, it's easy, it's a money grab too, of keeping somebody dependent. And if somebody doesn't want somebody to stand them up on their own 2 feet, well then now you're always going to rely on me anytime that you need anything. And I think that was just the biggest thing, even when I came into, I knew was, nah, you're going to get your legs up underneath you for yourself, because I got other things I got other things to do. So here you go, now what you going to do with it? And when I started to learn that is like when I started to finally like see things for what they were. And like, okay, all right. Yeah, you know what? Some people, they don't want their situation to actually change. They just enjoy soaking up somebody else's energy. So I'm going to always just remain a victim. And as long as I can do this, then this person will keep pouring into me and pouring into me, as opposed to me saying, you know what, I'm gonna do this for myself.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the people that you hear, I just need some of your energy. I just need to be around you. I just want to touch you. Those kind of people when you said that.
Ooh, yeah. Those are like almost fighting words to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, when people say that, it's like, yo, yeah, I just need to stab you up a little bit then. Like that's what goes through my mind. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I just need some of your energy. I just what? I need some of your blood. You know what I mean? Just a couple quarts. Because that's basically what you're saying to me. So it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, those are fighting words, man. And people don't even realize it because sometimes they think that we are obsessed. Like we have this fetish for service, and we're just obsessed with like it's like even like what you're saying, Zach. Like you got to recognize I'm not a dog. Like some of us may have an auntie or uncle. You know what I mean? Like my uncle, he used to always make gumbo back in the days, right? And everybody
Mm-hmm.
loved the gumbo, but I'd be like, Unc, so what's in it? Oh man, a little bit of everything. Yeah, Unc, I don't really want to eat that. You know what I mean? I'm good. I see stuff hanging out the side, a crab leg hanging out the side, and a chicken bone. And I always had an issue with like, I don't think all these animals supposed to be in the same place at the same time. They don't even grow up together. So why would they be in a bowl together, right?
You was better than me. I ate it.
Yeah,
Hey,
everybody else did too. And then they had nerve to put like a piece of corn in it.
It's circular.
Oh my
You know what I'm
goodness. You
saying?
know.
Circular.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd always be like, "Look, I got vegetables. You like vegetables, mommy? I ain't trying." And then here would come my pops, eat it. Ah, here we go.
You want them Hawaiian sweet rolls, dip it
That's
in
all
that
you need
juice.
a
Right,
piece of butter to
exactly.
top it up.
Exactly. Yeah, to try to take out your mind that I'm sitting here eating an abomination. you know, and I remember my cousin, his father. They had a dog at the time, so I used to always like try to sneak my stuff off to the dog. You know what I mean? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and it used to work a lot. And he was a master chef. Like he could really cook, but it was like, Unc, man, with the combo. Come on, man. I know everybody gets excited and neighbors would be knocking on the door. You making gumbo? Like you can have mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, man, this is peasant food. You know what I'm saying? I remember saying that like 12, 13 years old. Like, nah, this is for peasants. I ain't got to eat that. But then pops would come through and whatever. But sometimes we have those kind of experiences, or people put us in the middle of those sort of experiences where it's like, you know, yeah, this was on my plate, but I'm gonna slide it onto your plate.
Mm.
you know and a lot of times we praise ourselves for everything that we handling. Yeah, man, I'm multitasking, man. I got a lot of things going. I got my hands like my man Max Jr. said in the Mac. I got my hands on a lot of things. I'm manipulating a lot of things right now. I got a good life. And sometimes we don't realize that, no, you just got a bunch of other people's crap on your plate. and you're not even able to show your actual genius because you've taken on, because you're unwilling to let go of what is not, of what's not yours. So it's just like, the dog, I'm like, here, eat this, eat that, eat that. Yeah, I'll take the corn, I might take the chicken, the rest you take that, dog. Now the dog's got to figure out, well, how am I going to eat all of this and my puppy child? So now, what I'm saying?
Right.
Now the dog's sick, throwing up, what I'm saying? And it's like, well, who overstuffed the dog? What happened? Stupid dog eating too much, you know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what we become. We become sick, we become stressed, what I'm saying? With high blood pressure, all these different things because we're not using our talents and our preferences and our experiences to devote our genius to the certain things that we've been called to do. We're using that to multitask, even if that's not our strength. But we're kind of using that to take on all of these different components of everybody else's life instead of redelegating it back to them or just scraping it off. This is not mine. I'm going to let go of this. This has nothing to do with me. But we'll do that in the name of caring, filling up our plate with a bunch of crap that isn't ours. You know.
That makes me think of narcissistic behavior. Like, how sometimes we can just be in it for how it makes me feel in the end. If I do this for this person, or if I do all these things for everybody, I'll have, good feelings at the end and I'll get praise. It's that pat on the head someone mentioned earlier. And then it just ends up um just like a cycle of like manipulating how everyone else responds to you, and also manipulating yourself, and that you're neglecting whatever it is that you should be focused on to make yourself better. And so that's why it's like, those boundaries all around are important. So you don't, fall into that behavior or manipulation, and also like just being rooted in what is right and what is righteous. So you have some sort of guide and foundation.
Right, right. I remember when I was a child growing up, I can relate to the whole seafood story because they used to have like a crab fest, and I was the only one that did not like seafood, and I was like, you know what, I'm tired of feeling left out, and so I sat there and I ate that you know horrible food, and you know what, nobody cared. Nobody, not only did they not notice, but they did not care. So it's like I cared so much about being a part of their feast that when I did it, they didn't even care, you
That's
know?
a deep point. Deep point.
Yeah, so
Ema Sequoia, that actually, I've been just listening and thinking about, well, where would a person begin, right? Like all of this information's being shared and different points are being, identified. And all roads seem to lead first to a degree of self-awareness, right? So if we're to erect boundaries, first we have to know like where we are, what we're founded on. I know earlier, I think Sister Kashia spoke to the Anu way, foundation, setting that core, right? So this is what we live by, this is how we govern ourselves. So then it makes it easier to know where the walls are because there's a blueprint. um but as we get into the idea of kind of cutting that rope, in Brother Zach's example, you almost know when to cut, right? How to not egoically carry that dead weight. But no, you know what? No, this is heavy and it's not even mine. So instead of just thinking that I can allow my ego to convince me that I can do this, I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to drag you along, which I still am not always wise about, discerning when to cut. But it's like, it seems to begin with clarity and self awareness, or clarity of self awareness, and just being able to then take the responsibility. And in that awareness, recognizing how much of it is my ego telling me that, yeah, I can do this, when ultimately, intuitively, I know you can't. You can't even carry yourself some days. So, how do you think you're going to carry this load that you've chosen to tether yourself to? So, yeah.
yeah.
And how many
Very
times do we
often.
settle on that, like I'm comfortable carrying this load, or not even that it's comfortable, I'm just used to it. I'm used to it, so I'll just continue doing it.
Yeah, that kind of like feeds into, what was said before in regards to, us being in our comfortability. You know what I mean? So like we've grown comfortable with being exploited, and sometimes we are comfortable with exploitation, being the exploiter. You know what I mean? Being on. So both both are operating outside of what is going to bring you to a level of um being developed. You know what I mean? Both are avoiding our avoidance. Like I think Sister Shia, I think, was the one that mentioned avoidance. um so yeah, so that on both sides, we choose to be the victim, or we choose to be the one pushing, pushing on to someone else's plate. As Chief had stated, we're supposed to be using our talents and gifts. You know what I mean? And when we push onto someone else, it's that avoidance of using your talents and gifts, for the larger benefit. Instead it's selfishness. And also with the victim mentality, it's selfishness as well. A lack of self-care. It leads to selfishness, I should say, and victim mentality, where you can now have an excuse of like, look at me, I'm handling, I got so much. And then now that person usually tends to push as well. You know what I mean? So it's just a cycle of creating a monster. Because now when that person has too much on their plate, now they're gonna be looking to push and bring attention to themselves. So that's what it reminded me of.
It's that love for the struggle love. I love to have some struggle love, and I love to struggle.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Can we not just skim past what Chief said though, with his dog eating table scraps and puppy
Yeah.
chow? Like, yeah, y'all were rich. Hey,
Nah, that was my uncle. I mean, we didn't have a dog,
Oh,
so
that dog was waddling down the street,
Oh,
and that dog just
dog.
walked away.
yeah, he died.
Pat him on the back.
Yeah, he didn't live that long.
I
Now
wonder
it's starting to
why.
make sense. Right, I never really thought back as to why. Yeah, but yeah, nah, they
Grandpa
had a different.
Crab.
Yeah, eating. Hey man, don't be. Would you want me to die?
You're like,
So that should be the tester. He was the royal
That's
tester.
it.
That should tell you right there.
mm, yeah, that's But what Emma Precious had just said something that made me start thinking about, of you kind of got to know yourself, right? And it started even making me think of people who, I mean, once one starts caring too much of what they think, it's like, what are you grounded and rooted in? Because some people find their identity in their job, or they'll find their identity in their children, or they'll find their identity in money, or they'll find their identity in things that ultimately will be transient. And I mean, for a time, maybe, but it's like, okay, at some point, though, you're going to come face to face with that soul's reflection, and it's going to ask, who are you? Like, what is this? You got this little name badge. Okay, that's cool. You got the little signature on the bottom of your email. Yeah, that's cool. Tell everybody that you run all of this, da 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 da. That's cool. But who are you? Like, who really are you? Because now all of a sudden you become enslaved to that thing that you care so much about, in a sense. So, really, I mean, it was just when she said it, it just made me start thinking of, like, what really is somebody's identity that they have found and rooted themselves in, that ultimately will push them to a brink of caring too much, or finding their identity and knowing that, you know what, I'm going to be good either way.
Right. It's much easier to know the what's, right? Because those are the things that I mean, that's what Western culture prepares you for. You know, what do you want to be when you grow up? What schools are more affluent than others? What neighborhoods, right? So there's this whole whatification. I like that one.
Oh wow. Here we go. Here we
Got
go.
a new word maker
We
upper.
did. That's right. That's right. Add it to the list. Put it
Whatification.
on a t-shirt. But it's like there's this whatification that happens, right? Instead of us even beginning to envision who we are already, because we are, right? Number one, the who is so much more simple and organic that it can't be taught in school. It can't be purchased, right? There's no barter for it. Um, but that's just so easy on the surface, that if we're tricked into thinking that it's more about that what, we never get to the who. But I know we can deliberate and carry this conversation. I did notice that someone that there's Justin that may have raised his hand, so I wanted to just hold space to see if
Yeah,
you
I
had a
dragged
question.
Justin in because
Oh,
yeah, this is like the third session we did. He's been here and he's over here lurking as if we don't know him.
Uh
what?
oh.
Okay.
Uh oh. Uh
Oh, I know.
oh.
Okay.
Nobody is lurking.
You've been lurking like we don't know you and you don't know us. Like you just I'm just a listener. You're not just a listener, Justin.
I mean,
So
I was kind of listening. Okay.
screw that. Nah.
Well, welcome, Justin.
Peace, everyone.
Justin been here before
Peace.
y'all. Yeah,
Peace.
he should be saying peace to y'all.
Peace,
Yeah.
everyone. Peace, everyone. Yeah.
Justin's an artist and he knows about giving too much and being misused by people and people asking for too much, and pulling on his energy and not being appreciative for what it is that he's offering. So that's one of the reasons why I pulled him in, because I'm sure he was nodding his head up and down, but he's gonna sit there and lurk. It's
No,
like
no,
stop being creepy.
my head rolled off from nodding too much. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, but it happens a lot. And even in the work that I do, even with the fostering, I just recently had an incident. Not incident, but we had a conversation with one of the youth's parents who, it took some time to understand, but um, they weren't used to boundaries, and it showed through their child. And I'm like, okay. I learned over time that the child, didn't show any boundaries with the parents, all that stuff. But the parent would do this thing where they would communicate to me through the child, and didn't make plans and all that stuff. And then I was the last one to hear about it. And now this has been something that's kind of consistent in the work that happens anyway. But I used to just let it slide, and I'm just like, nah, we can't do that. So we had a conversation yesterday, and we learned that the agency that I'm a part of, they haven't communicated or set any types of expectations or anything. They just kind of accepted the youth in the home or accepted youth within the agency. um however they communicated things poorly, it trickled down to our relationship and our communication, stuff like that. So it was a healthy conversation, but it was something I recall just in so many times we've had youth. It's been just the parent being completely um ignorant of having and knowing boundaries and knowing certain things, and it goes to show how deep that is. But yeah, I've had experiences from that, and then just to my life in general, that placed me to a place of anger actually, and I'm like, I don't want to be walking around angry. So I had to learn, to just say no, and saying no has been such a good feeling now, having cut off so many um, jobs and just things, and taking on little jobs that turn into big jobs. When I'm saying yes, they were like little lettuce heads that you pulled them up, and they were just huge jobs that I just accepted. And I'm like, no, this is mad exhausting. But yeah, this has been definitely a thing that I relate to. Um, and hearing about it, it's relieving to know that yeah, this is not a foreign thing. It happens with everyone. So yeah, I've had my share, but that's what I want to say.
There we go. It's adjusting
Justin,
my
you
no.
you work for the foster home or for the feds, man? I think you're wearing a wire.
What do you
What's
mean?
going on?
Yeah, we
What?
do hear a lot of fabric scraping or something.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm laying on the floor. I'm sorry. Pay me no mind. I'm laying
Laying
on the
on the
floor.
floor. See, yeah, he's an artist, so they send some weird stuff. You know, what I mean, he's trying to get his inspiration.
I'm laying on my back in the floor. I'm
Yeah,
just
exactly. Looking up at the sky and basking. Yeah. Okay.
anyway.
Yeah, I see you in this, sis. Sula, what's happening?
Uh, I think, am I unmuted or muted? I don't know.
You've been unmuted the whole time.
Oh, dear Lord.
It's all
Okay.
right. You
Hey,
didn't.
how you doing, my dear friend, my brother? How you
I'm I'm
feeling?
I'm good, beloved. How about you?
Good. I'm wonderful. I just so happened to see you on Clubhouse, and so let me click on, and I like the topic, so I'm staying because it's you and all these other beautiful beings of light.
And we don't built on this one, you and I, a lot.
Please.
You know.
Yeah, that's why I'm over here in St. Croix getting some self-care time because
Right.
it's really important because I think we sign up to be mothers and fathers in our communities, particularly those of us that have accepted their responsibility or been initiated. And we are mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers in this community, but we have to remember to be that to ourselves as well. And learning great lessons around that. And I don't know if we care too much or we just have to have boundaries in our caring. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've been talking about. Yeah, the boundaries piece. You know, I would say too, one of the easy experiments slash solutions for a lot of that is allow yourself to be judged. You know, you'll find that a lot of times that that fear that you have when you're doing too much, it's not that deep. It's kind of like what Sister Sequoia said. Like, yeah, I finally partook with everybody else, and nobody even paid me any mind. You know, um, I'd say especially for healers or anybody working with the community where people have formed a perception of identity around them. One of the things that you could do is just throw a mistake out there, throw a couple of errors out there into the universe, and allow people's perception of you to be shaken up a little bit and see really how bad the judgment is that comes back to you. You know, when your next post on social media, put a couple of typos in there. You know, or next time you're speaking, say a couple of words incorrectly. Use poor grammar on purpose.
Oh
You know,
boy.
Cringe.
Cringe,
Oh
cringe.
goodness.
exactly. You
Oh
see that?
goodness.
That tells you right there. But I can't. I can't. You can. You know, and that can be very freeing. Though I'll give you an example. When I had released some songs before, right? I forget it was Fate. I think it's the song Fate. I did the one where I'm at my house in West Africa and I'm on the beach and all that. The one with the video. I never finished that song, right? So that's why after a point you just hear music rocking out because I never finished it, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna share it the way it is. There were a couple other songs I released the same way, and my brother had reached out. He was like, "Yo, why'd you put it out like that? You know, like some of the verses you're not even singing words, you're just mumbling." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know what to write. I just left it the way it was." Right? But what that did was, I mean, he's still upset about that, but what that did for me was that it freed me up to do whatever I wanted to do next. You know, so it's like, okay, he'll just put something out where the guitar is out of tune. He's singing nonsense. He's just whatever. There's no third verse. This or half the second verse is cut off. You know, like, and that's just what it is, huh? Okay, all right, cool. So expect the unexpected. And a lot of times when you begin to do that, and it's really it's a deliberate social experiment. You can begin to create your own identity for yourself, and you can begin to build up your opinion of yourself, first. And then when that judgment comes, like I said, you'll realize, oh, that wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't this monster of condemnation that I thought it was going to be. And then again, like, you begin to recognize, who do I really care about, judging me? Do I care that everyone has judged me, or maybe just, you know, my best friend, maybe just my supervisor, maybe just my godson, or whomever, But one of the tools you can do is just put some intentional errors out into the universe, you know, switch up the vibration.
And that even makes me think of when just looking at a couple different people of like a Jimi Hendrix who would just make an error, but the error then would just be like, all right, let me go in that direction, or would Brother Lowe would always say, just becoming like water. Uh, or even when I watch like a special with Dave Chappelle, and he just turns his back to the audience, or just starts smoking a cigarette. It's like, whatever, right? Like but I mean, I guess in the sense that one is just so self-sufficient. Like I know what I'm doing. It's okay if it goes in any direction because I'm able to take it in that direction. So now I'm gonna just be flexible in what I'm doing, as opposed to being stiff and rigid and trying to be perfect. And when I'm trying to be perfect, now it's like, now I'm caring too much.
But you know what? But I would say even that level of deliberation is stiff. If you're like, oh, I'm so good now, I could just do whatever and it'll still be good, then you're still in the same space.
Mm.
It's still a very stiff thing. How about you throw all of that out and I just bomb, allow myself to bomb, and see what my life is after that. After I do something quote unquote wrong. So what that is because always between the truth and the lie, we rise. We are not a product of pure truth. We're just not. If we were pure truth, or as beings, we would destroy the planet. It's too much. You think about, even when you present truth in verbally to a person, how they react. And that's just a little smidget. That's just a little sample of what our internal energy is, because our internal energy is actualized truth. So in order for that truth to evolve, it has to be intermingled with a lie. And the lie that it intermingles with is our body, is our who identity. The who is a lie, because whatever title, whatever you call yourself, that the spirits don't call you that. you know,
Mm.
Plain and simple. They never say, "Oh, Doctor So and So," or Mama So and So, or Baba. They don't talk to you like that. So those identities that we take on, which we need, we need them to get certain things done, but they are a part of the illusion that we utilize in order to navigate. Just like our ethics and our morals really are an illusion, to be honest. There's things that we often will subscribe to, from a moral perspective, that inwardly we might be like, well, I really don't think it's that bad, though, to be honest. you know, I'm gonna go along, but
Right.
at the end of the day, like, hey, what's the problem? Certain,
Right.
and some of those things we may be embarrassed, to admit, you know, um, and that's a part of it. So why not admit it? Just, hey, this is
Mm-hmm.
what it is, right? And in between the truth that we are living, or in between the truth that we're holding on to, and in between, and on the other side is the error that we're constantly trying to run away from. our rise comes. So in between heaven and earth, we rise as a people. Heaven being the truth, earth being the lie. Or your father always being the one that's going to bring the objective truth. Your mother's always going to be the one that's going to bring the nourishing lie. You know, Oh, mom, you saw me do my that wheelie on my bike. Yeah, it was great. You almost did the whole block. You barely
Right.
got the wheel off the ground, right? But we need that, and that keeps us from becoming narcissists because we were able to get that level of nurturing when we at the time when we were developing and we needed it. But there's a time to explore the lie. There's a time. In fact, some people do it collectively as a tool to learn things about themselves, and it's called role playing. you know yeah. That's a deliberate
Can you elaborate on that word, role playing, please?
well, it's like one in a day. So I mean, if it was midnight, maybe we could get it. We
Oh,
did. This ain't Chief After Dark. You know what I mean? But hey, just do what you feel.
tracking.
Yeah, I know what kind of advice you asking for. The heels or the pumps, fishnet or the put on what you want to put on. None
So,
outfit. No. So yeah, but role playing is essentially that. I mean, it's a healthy thing. We know that. It's not. You don't look at role playing and say like, oh, that's of the devil. Especially when it's between two consenting people and it's safe and it's sane.
mhm.
Well, I guess sane is subjective, right? Um, but the point is, there's an exploration of an illusion in order to explore different things about ourselves, to understand different things about ourselves. So, you think about even in that experience, if we only shared truth, it would be pretty boring. you know oh, baby, is this the best you've ever had? Oh, it sure is. You freaking liar.
Hey, you better tell me it is now.
Right, exactly. You can catch a case up here, it's gonna be a homicide. you know so that's a part of, sometimes we explore the line or even call each other baby. Oh, baby. Yeah, 180 pound baby. Oh,
Right.
baby. you know but that exploration of that untruth, that exploration of that, it brings out other things within the psyche that are healthy for our development. So even when you get yourself caught in that, like I said, a lot of times it's not caring, it's attention seeking, it's people pleasing. There's a lot of different things that it is. It's pursuing a victim modality, so we can come back later and say, yeah, or again, like I said earlier, it's just eating things that are, scraping stuff off of other people's plate and putting it on ours, so we can show how many people, how much stuff we can eat at one time, make ourselves sick, and then end up regurgitating all of it anyway and still having to deal with it, you know. So a lot of times that can be resolved by just, what? Let me throw some errors out there and break up who I am. Let me explore some of this lie a little bit.
Which is not the easiest thing to do. Which, like, I've seen when you speaking, it just made me think of that whole build, destroy, build, destroy, build, destroy. And it's like somebody might build themselves up in a way where now they might have a lot of, like I'm royalty now, or I've made it, or I've, made it to the top of my job, or I've made it to this. It's like, but now if I have to destroy that, or if I have to, kill that in order to rebirth myself into something new, then the first thing that I've seen people, how long is this going to take me? Right? Like, you telling me, you giving me this guidance, you giving me this, how long is this going to take me? Or even like when football, you get hurt, and then I'm like, all right, well, this is the issue that you have. how long is this going to take me to get back on the field, to get back to doing what I was doing so I can get that praise that I had, as opposed to me looking and taking care of my body, or looking and taking care of my mission that I came down here to do. Just how long is this going to take me? And if it starts to take me too long, well, now I'm going to start looking for other measures and motives to get back to doing what I was doing. So just give me a cortisol shot. Just give me whatever it is
Right.
to make me feel good so I can go back to doing what I was doing.
You know what's deep about that? You say that, man. That is like, of course, I hear that a lot. And any other healer or therapist here, they know, they hear it all the time. How long? Well, if I just do this, that'll work, right? If I just take this spiritual bath, then I'm good, right? You know, and that's really the hallmark of a diseased mind. You know, once you hear that, you're dealing with someone who's diseased, because when you're constantly looking at and thinking about, if I do this and I get this, do this and get that, you're living your life at a state where there is no ease in your life. There is no relaxation in your life. There is no calmness in your life. There's no serenity. You're always looking to, you're chasing. You're constantly chasing. So of course, if you're not at ease, then you are diseased. You know, so when you hear those type of statements and people are not focused on the beauty of the tunnel of the process, and they're always looking at, well, what am I on the other side of this, what am I on the other side of this, then obviously that cycle continues. You know, it's like when they tell you that phrase, what is it, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yes, it definitely is about the journey, but once we came and took on a human form, it didn't really become so much about the journey. It became more about the company, you know, like, because the
Mm-hmm.
journey is what it is, right? But it's nothing worse than it's like that movie Defiant, or the Defiant Ones, you know, old movie with Sidney Poitier. But who am I chained to in this journey? And you know, one of the first people that we're chained to is ourselves, is our own unseen shadow selves, our own doppelganger, you know. And it's that unseen shadow part of you that's doing all the destroying. You know, the Most High doesn't destroy. The Most High doesn't destroy anything. It's not in the Most High's nature to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's in the Most Low's nature to destroy. And there has to be a balance between, you know, construction and deconstruction, or what some would call God and the devil. You know, like when Job said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. You know, Job was delirious. So he didn't know what he was saying, man. He's, you know what I'm saying? His mind wasn't
Been,
right.
been
You
through a
know,
lot.
right. He's like, I got a headache. I got these lesions. You know, well, I'm
All the
hungry.
changes, right?
Right. I'm going through all
Tired.
these changes. I can't keep anything down. You know, I had some lentils and manna, and I just keep throwing up all this manna and lentils. You know, um, the Most High gives, or God gives, the Lord gives, and the devil taketh away. That was, we learned that in the beginning of the whole story. He's like, yo, what about my servant Job? Go mess with him. Just don't kill him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so once we understand that balance, even within ourselves, like, it becomes easier to use our intuition or our gut or our good or our God to then determine when I need to give and when I need not to give, or even take away some of my caring, destroy some of my relationship of caring with an individual in order for something to be deconstructed in them. You know, sometimes we cripple people by what we call caring. You know, we don't know when to pull back, and a lot of times, again, that goes with the concept of disease. You know, sometimes when I get clients that ask me questions like that, well, how long is it going to take? I'll respond, what does it matter? Who cares how long it's going to take? Just do what you're told to do, right? And that may feel like, whoa, I just asked a question. I just want to know. Right. But I have to pull back from being concerned about answering every question that you have. And I need to allow you to go through this experience. You know, the other side may not matter. Sometimes you work with people and you even know what they want on the other side they're not going to get. You know that when you do the first reading. You know, nah, you're not going to get that. That's not going to happen. But you might know that they haven't gone through a profound enough journey to even hear that. So you have to send them on the journey. Then you come back and have the discussion again. Okay, so let's talk about, yeah, your sports career. You're 35 years old and you want to, you know, play basketball
Right.
professionally, you know. And I have had clients like that, believe it or not, you know. And no, it's not something that they can fathom right now because they tethered themselves to that identity. Well, let me send you on a process first. Let's do that. Let's go on a journey. Then let's see if you've properly committed yourself to that journey, if you transformed your mind enough now to be able to see truth. Let's explore your lie. Okay, you this age, you want, all right, cool. Let's go down that road. See, that's going into the lie. And then on the other side of that, now let's see if you have a different perspective of the truth, because lies will change you. Lies will transform you. You know, that's the value of an illusion. It changes you. The illusion of a body. The bodies are just illusion. Our humanity is an illusion, but it changes the spirit. You know, so the illusion of even humanity changes the profundity or changes the very nature of what a spirit is. The illusion of humanity changes the perception and the understanding of God, of the Most High, because the Most High is here having this illusionary experience and then evolving itself, not based upon the truth of humanity, but based upon the illusions of humanity. You know?
Makes me think of when somebody like, yeah, yeah, I hear all that you, but what's the elbow that can still make me get on the team? What's the what you
Right.
got that's gonna just get me right where I am? I mean, I hear all what you saying, but I need to get there now.
Yeah. And when you hear things like that, that's when you have to see. That's when it becomes not their session, but it becomes your session right in that moment.
Mm,
Because in that moment, you have to decide if you're going to respond egoically or if you're going to respond with humility. You know, I've had people say things like that to me, and I've said in the moment, you know what? I don't think I can help you. I don't think that I have the skill, or the spirit to give you what you need. You know,
mm-hmm.
so because I know there is no elbow, right? That's just not going to happen, right? But maybe there's someone else, when their words would come to you, it would stop that foolishness in its tracks. And if what I just said didn't do that, then I don't think I have what you need. You need to talk to someone else.
Mm. Or the ability to not care too much of how this is about to end, or if I lose a client, or if I lose this, or if I lose that. You know what? It is what it is. I'm just gonna have to give it to you, and this is what you do with it is on you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I never care. If I care, you can't be my client. But I never care about what I expect to happen with someone, because my resources of caring and knowing are very finite compared to what the universe has to offer. you know so from when I lock myself into certain expectations as to this is how this should turn out for this person, or that's how, and that's again another sickness of caring sometimes. And again, we're using the word caring for reference. It's not
Hmm.
really caring, but that's where the sickness comes from. Like, well, I want to see this for you, or this should happen for you. I don't know that. I don't know that at all. Anytime I've gotten wrapped up into a case with a client where I cared, quote unquote, too much, or just cared, period, it damn near destroyed my spirit for months. Like I'd have to pull back for months just to regain what I am again. Because I
Hmm.
I did the wrong thing. The Most High doesn't even care. So why the heck would I care? The Most High is only concerned with maintaining balance, but not, that's that good time Jesus story. Like, all he cares about your every need, and he cries when you know. Ain't nothing doing that. Because if the Most High could care and cry and all of that, then why would it even establish itself a human experience? It wouldn't even make sense. If
Right.
I'm able to feel all the emotions that you're feeling, then why did I establish you? I established you to get a record of what those emotions are, but me at my core state is, that's the beauty of judgment, of true judgment of the soul. True judgment of the soul has no shade or color. It's that heart chakra indifference. It's this or it's that. But either way, do whatever you want. Regardless of what you're gonna do, the heart's still gonna pump. It's not worried. Like, yeah, you could be a spiritual person or you could be a savage person. Go down to the root chakra, go up to the crown chakra. Hey, either way, I know I still got a job. I got
Hmm.
total job security until the end of this thing. So I don't care what you do. you know and when we're working and operating from the heart as healers, as guides, that's the energy that we're coming with. It's that divine indifference, where, yeah, there's a certain universal leaning towards what we call quote unquote good, or what we call righteousness. There's a universal leaning towards that, but there may be some rough waters that you're going to have to send a person through in order to get to that space, you know
Hmm.
and that's a part of that not caring. What does Sister Moksha have to say? She's been sitting there lurking.
No, I'm not lurking. Every time I go to try to share, everybody jumps in.
Ain't
I have
nobody
a
jumping
question.
in. Me and Zach been giving nice long
No.
pauses.
Well, recently. So, you spoke of just to back up a little bit, you spoke about, just grabbing everything and scooping everything onto your plate. And so I thought of how some actually do that because what they're doing is it allows them to, rather than develop self, um, they focus on helping, but the focus on helping others is only to live vicariously through the ones that they envision themselves helping, right? So there's less focus on self development or self actualization, and then the pouring into others. And I'm making the point not from a place of the we idea or wanting good for everyone, but it is rather a selfish perspective or a selfish thing to do, because the focus is really just helping others so that you could kind of say, okay, well, you feel like you've helped someone, but you haven't really grown. And I actually connected some of that to a point Emma Precious made, because when she made the point, what came to me was discernment and discretion. So for some, we have to have that discernment, or would have to have that discernment to kind of see the truth of a situation from our perspective as well too, and understand that, wait, is my ego working here? I'm not really improving, but I could assume I am because I'm helping others. So I could say that I am because I'm saying I'm helping others. And then also have the discernment to be able to step back and create boundaries. The boundaries that will help me, or the ones helping others to grow themselves. And boundaries that will help others to kind of distance or separate themselves so that they're not pulling on you that much. And sometimes I think those boundaries have to be verbal, like you have to vocalize those boundaries, or else you kind of give too much. And I guess that's what kind of puts you in the mode of overcaring.
Yeah, I would agree. In fact, overcare is the is the actual clinical term for that. I don't know if that's where you're pulling it from, or if that's just what came to mind. But it actually is a psychological phenomenon. When you have people who are overly attached to, or even narrowly viewing and narrowly attached to what they think should happen for another person. And then you have another disorder where people think that anything that they try, they can do. So this particular person, and sometimes you find that in therapists, like the person comes to you with a certain issue, I can fix it. I can fix anything. you know, and that's classified as overcare. Now, of course, it also sounds arrogant, it sounds egotistical, it sounds narcissistic, and delusional at the same time. But one of the simple clinical terms for that is just overcaring, and again, it's just based around that idea of not being able to identify exactly what should be cared about, and being far too connected to the expected outcomes for an individual. It promotes that sort of sickness. Yeah. All right, cool. So I'm gonna close it down. You know what I mean? Unless someone wants to share something in addition to. Oh, and while y'all are mustering up your courage, there was a mix that Sister or DJ Sham, I don't know, Sister DJ Sham does. Um, I think it's 9 a.m. Every first day, or what you would all call Sunday. I think it's 9 a.m. I missed it today. So, Precious, you about to give us the correct information?
No, that is correct. I was just going to confirm. First
Okay.
day, 9 a.m.
All right. Yeah. So first day, 9 a.m. And I heard it was really good. I didn't catch it, but everyone was singing her praises. So that's something if you want to check out. Go on and check that thing out. Sister DJ Sham the Joy. Yeah. I wonder where you got that name, Sham the Joy. Sham the Joy, because it really doesn't roll off the tongue nicely. Yeah, I wish you would have talked to me first before you came up with that DJ name. I get the sham part, but the joy, Sham the Joy. Yeah, and the thing to me is also that DJ name. It limits you from doing more dirty type of gigs. Sam the Joy means that every gig you do has to be like on some positivity. But what if you just want to, you know, flip it one night and do something a little different? Yeah, so
Y'all play that Frankie Beverly and Maze all the time.
right,
That's
you
the
stuck.
joy. That's the joy.
Yeah, but
Right. No MOP. No MOP.
yeah, well,
All joy.
that's what I'm saying. Kind of that won't even look right on the
No.
advertisement. Sham the Joy, all the hardcore hip hop. It just yeah. So yeah, you got to be careful about that sort of stuff. But yeah, the ultimate takeaway, like I said, and feel free anyone who wants to jump in if you got something you want to share, or raise your hand as well. I'll bring you in. Those boundaries are key, and like I said, it pulls back to the first session where I was just talking about you giving yourself permission to own your feelings. Your feelings are thoughts, and whenever someone seeks to stifle that, man, they're seeking to stifle your destiny. Your destiny is comprised of your thoughts. So that means your feelings and your destiny and your destination are intrinsically linked together. So whenever there's that feeling like, even again, I care too much about this person. And I know for a lot of us who are involved in alternative forms of spiritizing, there's that always that, well, I don't know what my grandmother's gonna say, what are my parents gonna say, or my spouse, because I don't necessarily want to be a part of that religion or this culture or whatever it is. And whenever those thoughts are nigh, it's because there's a lack of boundaries, as we spoke about today. And if you stifle that, you stifle your destiny. So um, build up an opinion of yourself, right? That's an important step. But at the same time, I don't know what that meant, Justin. I saw a red phone.
I got a phone call.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I just I didn't know if that was like an alert, like a Clubhouse Amber Alert or something. I thought something happened. Like, yo,
That was
hey,
awful.
yeah, I thought he's kidnapping him or something. I didn't know. That's
Yeah,
That's the Fed saying he got enough info.
yeah,
Intel.
yeah. You got
yeah,
something. Wrap it up.
right. The eagle has landed. They probably outside my door. But yeah, man.
I did have something that
Yeah,
I
go
wanted
ahead.
to add.
Go ahead, brother.
I was kind of in transit. I didn't want all the noise to mess with the flow. But there was something that Taka touched on. I think Deidre touched on as well. This word should kept coming up. When it comes to boundaries, like should is like the worst thing because it's like, I don't feel like doing this, but I know I should. I don't feel like it, but I know I should. So you get caught between, like you were saying, the truth and the lie. So it's like, what are you gonna do now? You're gonna do what you think you should, or are you gonna move based on what you are, or like you were building on with the previous session, what you be? Are you bringing all of yourself, or are you gonna leave that part of yourself that really doesn't have, like, this doesn't have anything to do with me? You're gonna leave that part of yourself behind and just do what you think you should. And it goes back into what we were speaking about, suppression. Because your boundaries are like if you don't know your shape, you would make the example, I think, with, if I don't know my size and I order something that's too small for me, it's not gonna fit. And sometimes we do settle for certain situations that are beneath us, and it sounds arrogant to say, or I shouldn't say it, because of social convention. But we could say our social convention is like the who, it changes. Nowadays people say you should um, take on stepchildren, or you should call someone by a certain pronoun because that's what they feel they identify as. But yeah, that should, I felt, was a very dangerous word that we typically use to contract ourselves back into what we just told ourselves that we shouldn't be contracted into in the first place. So that was like my point. One.
And I, uh,
All right, I'll jump in there. Yeah, I was just gonna add on to, what when Brother Antonio was saying. Yeah, that should, it can get you in trouble, because it speaks towards, expectation. And a lot of times we have, came to unreasonable expectations, of ourselves, of others, and it's based on lies we consumed, based on lies that we believe to, and have taken on to be true, you know, to for us to perceive as truth, you know. Um, but the the caring too much, and not caring enough, both are, speak to a lack of balance. You know what I mean? So when we're off balance, we're more susceptible, for that ego, to take us out of alignment, with developing our character the correct way and becoming, closer to the creator, closer to truth. We continue to feed in more lies, and or believe the lie. It's like we believe one lie, and it subjects us to taking on more lies, you know, just like disease. you know. First it starts with, just a little bit of sickness, and then it spreads, to the rest of the body if we don't nip it in the bud, So I just wanted to throw that in there and add that. And also, greetings to everybody. I apologize. I forgot to greet everybody before I started speaking. So my apologies. I didn't care enough. So I apologize. That wasn't intentional.
You're right.
I didn't show that I
some,
care, but I care.
something.
Yeah, because you just slid up in there. You came out of nowhere. It's like, whoa, who's this?
Yeah, my apologies.
Well, I care. Before I speak, Sister Moksha, did you want to say anything? I know you said that people just jumping in here too fast.
I don't even know what to say.
He got you right. He
See
got
how long
you.
she took? See how long that took? She wasn't even near the
No,
phone.
You know what?
Tell her
I got you, Sister Maksha.
she's
I'm
somewhere
happy
dancing around a blender.
to.
Gotta be quicker than that.
Right, right. I did want to jump in and just oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Um, with the idea of what we were just discussing, what came to mind for me was just getting back to why, what your foundation is, how you determine. I think it really brought me back to the first thing you said, that we needed to consider who we really, whose opinion really matters. Who are those core set of people? Um, do they even have the same value system or cultural imperatives as you? And if no, then should you be concerned? And yes, of course, there's always, as you said, the grandparent or the elders that you kind of like, I don't know, you don't want to ruffle those feathers. But I think that what's most valuable is that you at least know why you're making the choices you're making, what foundation you're standing on. And then I also wanted to just share that when she was speaking about the Sunday at 9 a.m., it's under Anu Radio on Clubhouse. So that's where you can go and follow DJ Sham and hear those mixes every Sunday at 9 on Anu Radio. Thanks.
I just
Ooh.
wanted to I just wanted to give thanks. This was a really great discussion, and I think people can get a lot out of it. I just wanted to share, like, for those who are struggling with, wondering if you're caring too much or not. One of the things that I've been able to look at is if I have that feeling of guilt, and that's one of the indications that tell me, at least, that okay, you're caring too much because you're caring more about the other person than the boundary that you need to establish. So give thanks.
I want to give a special shout out to Emma Sequoia's microphone to care enough to finally let her be heard. So everybody,
True, true.
Loud and clear she
Always with the
is.
jokes. Always with the
yeah.
jokes.
But something that was said earlier made me think of the movie Avatar that she was speaking about, the balance. And even in that movie, when um, he was going to Ewok and like, please help us, win this war. Please help us. And she's like, Ewok doesn't take sides. It's only balance. And it made me think of another show Chief did where he was talking about, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And he was like, but God can't associate himself with the sin. Uh, but then it's like you look at it, and I equate war and sports kind of to the same thing. It's just almost like you fighting over territory. And like whole wars are started behind somebody's God. Like I fight for this God. I fight for this, and somebody like, oh, I fight for this jersey that I have on, this territory that I'm going to defend. And you pray to this God that tells you, help us win this, give me the strength I need, give me whatever it is that I need. And I guess that's where I was a bit confused because it's like, well, if this thing doesn't care, well, then what are there so many people dying over something that they feel so strongly about? It was just very interesting.
Yeah, but that's those people caring. You made up something and then you said, now I'm going to plant my flag in what it should be. See, it goes back to what you all were talking about earlier about that should statement. Should is probably one of the most dangerous words in the English language. Should. you know, because people use should to get out of things, and people use should to destroy themselves and other people. You should have thought about it like this. You should have looked at it like this. I'll tell you what you should do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, what that always means is should is like short for you should be like me. You should do like me. You should think like me. That's what should is short for. So when we're speaking about even should from a religious perspective, we all have this phenomenon with connecting with an idea that there's a power that is more vast than our own understanding and our own being. Everyone has that to some degree, regardless of what they call it. It could be a tree. Yeah, the tree's bigger than me. The roots go deeper than I go. Okay, cool. So whatever it is, right? But then now, should steps in and says, well, you should perceive that thing as this. You should think that that thing is saying this thing to you. And this thing is telling you to dress like this, eat like this, or live in this particular region. You should see what I see. So should, even when it comes to that, so we take it the movie The Avatar, AY should care. Why should AY care? Because these people came to your planet, you befriended them when you should not have, because I'm sure AY gave you some sense of intuition to know that these people didn't come with good intention, and that eventually it would lead to this point. But you ignore that, and now this God should care, when maybe the God cared before enough to give you sense, you know. So, that should, when you apply it to a being, whether it's higher, lower, to the side, we don't know. Nobody knows, but wherever the heck it is, which is the beauty of it, because it's nowhere and then it's everywhere at the same time. When you apply that should to it, you make it personal. You make it very personal. You should know that God loves you. Why? Because you do. And that's where a lot of our uneasiness and insecurities in life come from. Because when someone says something like that or implies that, we start to try to look at, well, what's discordant? What's broken inside of us where we don't have that same conviction of should? Why am I seeing it differently? Why am I seeing it like this? You could be in a marriage. Marriages get broken up by shoulds. You know, well, if you were a real woman, you would know you should do this. If you were a real man, you would know you should do that. And again, it just goes down to my personal perspective of what a man or a wife should do, or your personal perspective of what a husband should do. And it has nothing to do with with reality of what really is, beyond what should be. And like I said, people will use that to shut things down. You catch somebody out there doing something real foul, and you say, well, why would you do that? Didn't you think that you should have at least called me, or you should have at least thought about what you were doing before you did it? Yeah, I should have did that. Yeah, I should have thought about it before I slept with your sister. I should have did that. Yeah, you know.
Okay.
But
Oh wow.
hindsight is 2020. No disrespect. You know what I mean? And sometimes through that should, because we look for the should. Think about when people get convicted of crimes. It's a big deal when the person shows no remorse. They cold blooded killer show no remorse. Well, because we think that they should perceive what they did the same way that we perceive it. So you should look sad. You should cry. You should say I'm sorry. Whatever it is, right? And that's where a lot of that discord really creeps in, because kind of shooting yourself into certain unhealthy places now establishes a very mean and cruel critic inside of you. A lot of us, I think, have gone through this, especially those of us who are involved in, again, alternative forms of spirituality. A lot of us probably sat around other people who were maybe even in church or school or whatever, people who we would consider to be peers, and they were having a certain experience that we found ourselves not having, and we felt like we should have. I remember the first time I went into a church, and in this particular church, it had a crucifixion cross, with the skinny Jesus with the thorns and stuff on the head. And I remember trying to muster up sympathy for this person. And I remember like really, really trying, like I'm trying to feel bad. Oh, he died for my sins. Oh, okay, I'm trying to, man, he crown of thorns. Oh, he had to carry his own cross. Oh, that's messed up. And I felt nothing. And I was trying and trying and trying. And then I began to question myself. Well, what is it that is inside of these people that they're able to connect with this story and this person that is not inside of me? What's wrong with me that I'm not able to connect like that, right? So that's just a small example, but that carries on to so many areas. In a relationship, somebody says, you need to be more considerate. You should be more considerate based on what you think you are. The process of over caring is based on the should. Because a lot of times we'll do things for people that we wish somebody would do for us. And that's really where all that comes from. Oh man, yeah, I know it's a snow blizzard, but yeah, I'll come bring you some food to your house. Yeah, no problem. Oh yeah, I'm 3 states away, but yeah, I'll take a train and pick your child up from school. No problem. Yeah, I only have my rent money in the bank, but I'll give you half of it so you can finish paying off your sofa. Like, because I wish somebody would treat me that way and do those things for me, and that's the should thing. Someone should do that for me, so I'm going to do it for someone else. So the should piece creates these really sick disparities that are not based on anything that's real. I know I should, but well, if it's a but and you ain't doing it, then you really don't know that you should. So the should is not based on anything that's solid. The should itself is a fantasy. You know.
And in that caring, with the should expectation, um, I can identify with the resentment that comes because in reality, everything that you did with this feigned care was really because you were expecting that it would come back to you, that it would happen. And then when it doesn't, right? The example of the rent money or, giving half of it, well, that person could have more than their rent money stacked. And you would think that they would offer you when you're in your time of need. And then there's that kind of dejected feeling, the reality of, yeah, perhaps your expectation was that they should offer the way you had, but they in fact do not. So, if we're caring too much in that way, um, it can be really unfortunate for you in the end.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with care. So like you said, yeah, that dejectedness comes as a result now of a lot of times the manipulation that we're playing. Sometimes because we're not aware of our shape, we're not aware of their shape, and we don't really know who it is that we're interacting with. So we're trying to form someone through the shoulds. You know, it could be maybe our nightly routine. Like for me, I've always sort of slightly disrespectful if a person's going to get in a bed with me and they don't bathe themselves first, right? So if you are a person who only bathes in the dawning and then maybe before bed you just brush your teeth, then in my mind I say, well, you care more about people outside than you care about me. You got to lay in this bed with me. So you should really be wanting to clean up for me. They can get the after clean, after you done laid on it for 8 hours. But I should get the fresh clean. You know. Now that's a rationale that's inside of my own head. It's just mine, right? So if someone doesn't comply with that, now I can start to create this narrative of a lack of care and consideration and so forth and so on because maybe I'm not aware of their shape, they're not aware of my shape. And then that resentment could set in because I might be like, well, shoot, I was so tired when I came in, I didn't even get in the bed next to you because I didn't feel like showering. I just slept on the floor. I did that for you. Why couldn't you do that for me? Because you should bathe before you get in the bed next to someone, right? It's that should again that leads to a lot of resentment and self-imposed hurt. It becomes kind of a masochistic sort of affair when you keep throwing all of these shoulds, or like we say, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but you keep throwing all of these shoulds at everybody, and that is the basis of overcare. That is the basis of that. Like I said, yeah, a lot of times is I'm going to treat you the way I hope somebody one day treats me, even though you may not have articulated that that's how you want to be treated. Or like you said, yeah, I'll give you this money because I'm hoping that when I'm in this position, you'll do the same for me. But have you actually witnessed a pattern of that from this individual? Or you just doing it, I'm going to give you half my rent money as a ritual. It's an unspoken ritual, and that even though I'm not asking for it back, but at the end of the day, if something comes around for me, I'm expecting us both to remember this moment when I sacrificed for you.
Peace. That makes me think of the concept of reciprocity. Like when I give, I shouldn't be expecting that other person to give back the exact same way in which I did. So yeah, good
For
points.
sure. And I mean, you can if that's the contract. You
True.
know, if if I say, hey, Kashia, let's go running, and the reason I want you to run with me because I want you to help me set pace, right? Then it's clear that we're going step for step. That it's not okay for you to be 400 feet behind me because I said this is, yeah, you're tired, I'm tired. You got to push, I got to push. Okay, now it's reciprocal. But if we don't have that contract in the beginning, then however it flows back, it flows back. You know. Go ahead, brother Zach, and then we're gonna, unless
All right.
someone else has something, we'll clear out.
Was this? But how it makes me think of how either beneficial or detrimental. The saying that it was been told for centuries is treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, that's bull
So
crap.
now,
I never fed into that crap. Some of us don't know how to treat ourselves right. So I don't. I keep it 100. I don't want anybody to treat themselves the way I treat myself. Because there's things that I'm not gonna see that need to happen. And then there's a whole. See, that's the beauty of being a man, right? When you are dealing with women or a woman, but when you're dealing with women, you get an opportunity to literally enter inside of them and kind of look around and see like, oh, this is how you do things, right? So that happens on an intercourse level. But when you're dealing with a woman, women tend to nest even when they're by themselves. They create their environment that they want, from the smells, the colors, so forth and so on. So you get to step outside of who and what you are as a man and appreciate and enjoy that. Like, oh, I wouldn't have thought to do this. Like I'll give you an example. I don't buy napkins, and I hardly buy paper towels. Like what I do is I take napkins from, you know, restaurants and stuff like that. Like if it's,
Best,
you know,
best.
what is there is a dispenser. If it does not say you can only take one, then I don't see why I can't open up the back of the dispenser and take the whole pack. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Okay.
right. It's
Yeah.
They
logistics.
should have thought more about their budget on napkins then.
That's what
They
I'm
should have
saying.
locked it. No, they should
Yeah.
have locked it from the
Exactly.
back. That's
If
what
I
I'm
can
saying.
take the toilet paper off the dispenser when I know the time that the janitor goes in there on my job to put the new ones in there, and there's no sign that says don't still, not, excuse me, don't take the toilet paper home, then I don't see a problem with that, right?
I
You
can't
know,
believe y'all are co-signing this. Whoa,
yeah, I'm teaching you how to save money.
oh,
You see, you want to be the
Yeah.
millionaire next door. You want to be the millionaire next door, right? I'm showing you how to do it. No, but
Yeah. Everybody who's co-signing already did
exactly. It ain't nothing.
No
Y'all
comment.
probably
No comment.
you on work phones and work computers now. You supposed to turn back in. You know. Hear them laughs. You hear that? There we go. I hear a chorus of laughs. Exactly.
That's
like
evil
a
laughs.
birthday party.
Right. Yeah, I heard the cackle. You know who the cackle
Oh
is.
my goodness.
Yeah, the
I was
Anu
Mhm.
on
cackler.
mute. I was on mute.
Yeah. But so I mean, there is, I don't even remember what my original point was, but yeah, man, I just say, yeah, the reciprocity, that to treat you how you want to treat, like I said, I don't buy napkins and stuff, that's the point I'm saying. But I go to sister's house, and she not only has napkins, but she might also have the little the little pieces, the little small tissue. They put in their purse, the little tiny ones. I don't even know what they're called. I don't even buy them. You see what I'm saying? I just find if I have to blow my nose or something, I find something soft enough to do it with. It could be a patch of moss. It could be, I don't know, somebody's laundry hanging on the line. I don't know. But I'm not wasting my money on no little tissues that go in my. I'm not doing that. I'm not carrying around a handkerchief. You know, but that's me. But I do appreciate when I go somewhere and the sister's like, "Oh yeah, we got that," or like some sisters like to buy those clips that you put on, like if you buy eating some tortillas or something, and you just roll the bag up. Some sisters actually buy those clips they sell to seal in the freshness. I don't do that. I roll it up and you shove it back into the wherever you got it so that the roll doesn't come loose. You see, whether it's the refrigerator or the back of the cabinet. So, or you just get a rubber band, wrapper, because you can go to the supermarket. They put rubber bands around the broccoli and the spinach. You just rip that off, put that around your wrist, walk back out. Now you got something to put around the tortillas.
That's
No,
another coin saving
That's
initiative.
economics right there.
Economics
Right.
101.
Yeah,
One-on-one.
Right.
Actually,
yeah,
I like
101.
that.
Frugal.
I'm teaching y'all some things. I'm teaching
Learn
y'all some
something.
things. You see what I'm
that's
saying? But you, message exactly. So that's the beauty of being a man, being able to go into, like I said, men experience the world through women. So because the woman, she's earth. We experienced it, the earth, and the diversity of the earth through the women that are in our lives. So if I wanted to be treated the way I treat myself, there would be a very singular kind of monochrome expression of treatment. you know. And I mean, I'm not going to massage my feet for 30 minutes. I'm not doing that. But I'm amazed when it's 1 o'clock in the dawning and we're both tired, and she's, "Oh, you want me to massage your feet?" And I'm like, "Whoa, okay. You want to wake up to do that? Okay, cool. All right." Because I wouldn't do it for me. Sure as hell ain't gonna do it for you, but I wouldn't even do it for me. You see, so that whole and then there's things, of course, I do that she wouldn't do, or they wouldn't do. So no, I think the diversity of exploring where your boundaries are and what you're willing to give to the world based on the dynamics of your energy is more powerful. That's more powerful, because what I'm going to do for you today is not the same. Sometimes we go through seasons of mourning, or we go through seasons of healing where it's like I can't give you that right now. I can't be that for you right now. I'm in a space right now where I'm in need. So we have to be in tune with our energy as opposed to this fantasy of how we like to be treated, because that's where the shoulds come in, and that's when it gets dangerous, because we start to see everybody as ourselves, and that's narcissism. Everybody we look at becomes a mirror. That's a problem. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna close it out. We've been on for a minute. Moksha, I saw your mic just came off. I'll let you close us out.
Yeah. Oh well, when you mentioned that that everyone you interact with kind of just becomes a mirror, it makes me think back to Brother Zach's initial point. Well, not initial point, but he made a point earlier about the way people say, like God loves you, and it made me think about that section in Job where Yah is addressing Job, and he's going through all of these great things or balances in the ecosystem that occur. And I realize that many of us take that and we make it into like a human experience where we attach the idea of love to it, right? So there's a part where he says, "Who provides for the raven his food?" And I do hear, and I've heard a lot of people, like make references to that. And the idea of doing that actually just diminishes the value or the expansiveness of the I am. So I wanted to make that point because it came to me as he said it, and the more you speak, the more I realize, yeah, we take these. very divine experiences that are shared with us, and we just attach a human condition to it consistently.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great closing point. But it's a great point overall because that's when you have a tiny God. You made your God. Your God now, instead of you being formed in the image of your God, you have formed your God in your image. So if I get angry or I'm happy or I'm sad or I'm angry or I'm jealous, all of these different things, now I'm going to prescribe that to this idol that I have created, which so this image now reflects the highest and the lowest parts of me, as opposed to me opening myself up to objectively what it could be. And that may take a level of reason and research that folks are not willing to do. Like I've said, in a very basic sense, if you take the common conception of what God is an alien. And this alien's son came to the planet to walk among us at one point, and then was was crucified for the suspicion of treason against the Roman government, and then went back to its spaceship. Right now, that's really hard for a lot of people to picture because, like you said, they have ascribed this human perception of fairy tale onto this concept. And when you do that, you also lose the value of what you could be in manifesting that higher energy, or that more intelligent, supreme energy. When you're ascribing all the human emotions are the illusion. Bottom line, they are the illusion, and they are to be. It's like the exhaust system of your spirit. They're gonna keep your spirit's gonna do its activity. It creates waste. You know, if you never did anything in life, you wouldn't really experience any emotions. That's what sometimes, and for any of you who have ever been, if you've ever been incarcerated, if you've ever been incarcerated, or you've ever been in a situation, maybe you were sick or whatever it is, but just a situation where you were not at liberty to feel every emotion that you wanted, you welcome that experience to feel it. Let's say if you were incarcerated and you were had a little tear that you could walk around, or maybe you had the yard, and you might have thought about, man, I can't wait till I'm out of here and I can take a walk down the street in the cold. Right? I don't care how cold it is. I'm gonna walk it. I'm just happy to be able to walk for 2 miles or 3 miles, without alarms going off, right? So you're inviting that human experience, even though it would seem like an unpleasant one. I want to walk till my legs are tired. I can't do that in this space. Or I'm sick. Yeah, I can't taste anything, man. I don't care. Even if what I'm tasting isn't good, I would love to just be able to taste again. You see, so again, the invitation of that human experience, but that's something that happens here. But trying to ascribe that to the Most High makes the Most High now the most low. So you lose it every single time, and the objectivity of the expression of that experience is where the actual power is. Because the object, just like when we're interacting with each other, we can't be powerful with each other because half the time we're so afraid we're going to hurt each other's feelings. And I want to say that in closing, when you are in that hyper defensive space, because you're so obsessed with how people are going to perceive you or are perceiving you. One of the things that I would say is very valuable to look at is how things are delivered. If someone has taken the time to explain something to you in a way that's kind and is thoughtful, using certain examples, so forth and so on, one of the greatest things you can do is actually listen. And I know that's such a rare thing, but actually listen before you, or don't even have a reaction, because a response is always more powerful than a reaction when it comes to criticism. A response requires thought, a reaction only requires emotion. But when you're able to actually respond intelligently, think first. Be quiet, think, and first realize this person went through a lot of work to wrap the gift of this judgment or the gift of this criticism or the gift of this message to me. And if they went through this much work to wrap it this meticulously, then it should be, or it should, right? I could take the option to at least listen to what's being said instead of immediately going into defense mode because I have this ideology that the world is looking to offend and attack me. So I have to constantly, defend myself from the world's offenses. So sometimes pay attention to that. I have seen people, even in I knew, get upset with other people because they felt like the way they were saying something to them was condescending or was patronizing. And sometimes it's first good to think about, well, can things be said to me directly? Maybe I don't like the way the person is saying, but maybe all this effort and toil that they're putting into how they wrap this gift is because of how I typically, or the energy I give off in reaction, you know. So I'm just gonna say that in closing, man, and give thanks for everyone coming through for our midday affirmatives, and willfully there was some things that were shared that you can utilize or at least think about. Share, that would be great. Share some of this, whether they were good examples or bad examples, doesn't matter. Sometimes we learn a lot through our mistakes too. Or maybe a bad example that was given today that we thought was great. You might have been like, that wasn't good. And you may develop something better for yourself. That would be cool too. All right. But we're going to close out. Thank you, everyone who was speaking, and sharing in that way. Thank you for doing that. And we'll be back with some more stuff. There's a bunch of our new stuff happening that we're trying to categorize now from different talks and stuff like that are going to be happening via Clubhouse, Facebook, IG, and Discord. All right. So anywhere you see our new, I would just urge you, just follow us. Anywhere you see us on any of those platforms, because if there's not something already happening, there's gonna be something happening pretty soon.
Wait, you have a Discord channel now?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Don't act like you didn't know, Justin.
No, I didn't.
But there's nothing. There's really nothing up there yet. I
uh,
mean, in full disclosure.
oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So if anybody listening, like, oh man, I've been missing out, and they get there and they just see a bunch of emojis, like, yeah, we just been really sharpening our emoji game, you know. So we ready for y'all when you come. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
Justin was surprised because he didn't see that in this FBI briefing. So he's
yeah,
doing good.
exactly.
Oh man.
That's yeah, that's possible. So yeah. So we're because there's like way more information and like I don't want to say handouts because it just sounds so corny, but there's a lot of written information and things like that, and even audio files that I have that I've been wanting to share out. And some can go out through podcasts, but like I have like whole classes and stuff that I just sitting, that I said, yeah, man, it'd be cool to have a space to just here, take it, give it, but also the Discord to have a deeper level of discussions if you want to ask certain questions, and kind of have a little bit more direct access to, some of the people who are cultivating this information. And for those who are interested also in joining our new, it's a great way, I think, to get a feel of the community outside of like YouTube and stuff like that. Because especially when you have something like Discord and you have ongoing conversations, eventually people's personalities start to poke out and you could make a more intelligent decision. When everybody's on YouTube, hey, peace, brother, peace, sister, yeah, shalom, Shabbat shalom, here we are. Yeah, everybody's, on their best behavior, you know. But after a while, you start to see the little quirks pop up. You're like, man, I ain't joining this community, man. So, you might, it gives you an opportunity to make an intelligent decision too, man. So that's why we're getting in Discord, up and going. All right. There's usually a link though. Maybe I'll put a link here and here, but like on under the YouTube videos, there's a link to the Discord. You know. All right, so that's that. I'm gonna sign us on out of here, and again, I will that everyone definitely enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully you got something good. All right, everyone, peace.
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 Good night.
Told